Hey guys, in this video we're going to talk about the problems of CodeDrift Day 2 and the topics are DP and Greedy. So let's get started. Let's talk about the first problem, maximum XOR with minimum x. The problem description is, given an integer a, select two integers x, y such that x and y can vary from 1 to a such that they have maximum possible XOR. If there are multiple x, y's, choose one with the smallest x. So basically we need to maximize the XOR of any two values, and those two values should be in range 1 to a. The problem constants are a can vary from 1 to 2 into 10 raised to power 9. Okay. Now let's talk about some examples. Now let us talk about the solution. Let's say we are given any integer a and the number of bits in this integer is x. Then I claim the maximum XOR that we can get is 2 raised to power x minus 1. Or basically, this also means all ones x times. This is binary representation. Now, why do I claim so? Okay, so in order to understand this, let's see how actually the binary pattern works. I'm going to write some numbers in binary here: 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and so on, right? So in this binary representation, you can see that number of bits here is 1, here it is 1, but here number of bits is 2, right? Now here we can see an increment in the number of bits, right? Similarly, if we look at this place, we have 1 1, then we have 1 0 0. Again we have increment of 1 in the number of bits, and similarly at this place I can see an increment of number of bits, right? Because here it is 3 and here it is 4. Now whenever we see an increment in the number of bits, we can see that the lowest number with x bits, we can XOR it with the highest number of x minus 1 bits, and we'll get a number with all x bits set, right? So whenever I'll have a number of x bits, I know that I'll always have some number, like in this case a number with x minus 1 bits, which will fulfill our condition of XORing and maximizing the answer to this value. Similarly, here I can see that I have a number with x bits. Okay, we have 1 0 0. Then I am sure that my range from 1 to this number will also include 1 1. Okay, so I can always make 1 1 1 out of it. That's why I said, given a number a who has number of bits equal to x, I can make this number. Okay, and that number is 2 raised to power x minus 1. Moving further, let us assume that 2 raised to power x minus 1 is k. Then we need to create k, right? So what we can do, our answer will be k minus a comma a. Why so? Because we know that all the bits in k are set. So we have something like this. Okay, we have some structure which has all the bits as 1, and if I subtract a from it, and let's say we have something like this, then one thing that we can notice here is, wherever we have 1 in our a, I'll get a 0 there, right? So this one is k and this one is a, and if I tend to subtract them, if I try to calculate this value here, so wherever I have 1 in a, I'll have 0 in my answer. Okay, and apart from that I'll just have 1, right? Now this value is k minus a, and if I XOR it with a, which is 1 1 0 0 1 1, right? So if I XOR it back with a, I'll get my answer as all ones. So that's why we can choose k minus a comma a as our answer. But there are two base cases that we need to handle. The first one is, if a equal to 1, we have just one possible choice, and that is 1 comma 1, and the XOR of these two values is 0, which is the maximum we can get. And apart from this, we have one more condition. Let's say our a is equal to k. Then in that case, k minus a will be 0, right? So we don't want that. Why? Because the range that we can operate in is from 1 to a, so we cannot use 0. So in that case, what I can do, I have one extra information here is that a also consists of all ones now. Why? Because k will also consist of all ones, and since a is equal to k, a will also consist of all ones. So in this case, what I can do, I'll just subtract it with 1. So if I'll subtract a with 1, I'll get 0 at last position. Right. Now if I try to XOR this value with 1, I'll get my answer. Right. I'll get my answer back as k. So in case of a equal to k, I'll return 1 comma a minus 1. So that will be my answer for this case. Now let us quickly see the code to this problem. We are given an integer a. If a equal to 1, we are returning 1 comma 1. That is one corner case. Otherwise, this x, it will contain the number of bits in our current number, or basically in a, right? After that we are calculating k is 2 raised to power x minus 1, and then we are checking if k equal to a, we are returning 1 comma a minus 1, otherwise we are returning k minus a comma a. So yeah, that's it. Now let us talk about the second problem. Valid parentheses again. So Robin bought a sequence consisting of these characters. A sequence is valid if it follows any one of the following rule. An empty sequence is valid. If x is valid sequence, then opening bracket plus x plus closing bracket of same kind, or similarly here as well, is also valid. If x and y are valid, then x plus y is also valid. Fine. His brother played with the sequence and misplaced some of the characters. Those misplaced characters are denoted by question mark in string A. In order to make the sequence valid again, he decided to replace the character question mark. The task is to determine the number of valid sequences that can be created by replacing question mark. Since the answer could be large, output answer modulo 10 raised to power 9 plus 7. The problem constraints are a can vary from 2 to 150, and length of string a is always even. Now let us move on to see some examples of this problem. Now let's say we are given this string and we need to count the number of valid sequences we can make out of this string, right? So I think we can do this like this. This is a valid sequence. Similarly, I can just change this outer bracket to something else. Let's take the big brackets. And similarly, I can change the outer braces to curly braces. Okay. So this also works. So apart from these three strings, we cannot have any other string. Why? Because we need an opening bracket for this one and we need a closing bracket for this one. And we cannot have the opening and closing bracket for these guys here. Because if I'll have an opening bracket here for this one, then I'll have one element left in between. Similarly here I'll have one element left in between. And we cannot pair up that element, right? So that's why we can have just three kind of strings here. So in this case our answer will be 3, right? So that's how we need to solve this problem. Now let us move on to see the solution of this problem. Now let's say we are again given the same string, and this time we need to create an algorithm to solve this problem. So let's start with brute force. So what I'm thinking to do here is, I'll say that this is my left pointer and this is my right pointer, and I'll assume that my left pointer is an opening bracket. Okay, then after that I'll iterate on this string from L plus 1 to R, and I'll try to brute force each and every position for the closing bracket of my current position L. Okay, so in this manner eventually I'll reach at some base case, and if that is a valid sequence, then I'm gonna add 1 to the answer, right? So that's how I'm thinking to solve it. So let's try to solve it recursively. Okay, so let's say this is currently our string. Then what are the choices we can make? So for this guy as an opening bracket, I can have this guy as closing bracket. Yes, and since both of them are question marks, if this question mark is this, we can have this here. This question mark is this, we can have this here. This question mark is this, we can have this here. So this question mark can take 3 values. Okay, so we can have this as opening and this as closing bracket in three ways, right? So in case of a pair of question marks, what we can do, we can just recurse for the rest of the string, and we'll just fix this string that these two guys are done here. Okay, so let's say I am recurring for the rest of the string. What is rest of the string? That is this much question mark question mark. And since these two can take three values, so whatever I'll get answer from this recursion, I'll just multiply it by 3. Okay, because I can do that 3 times, right? Now again, let's try to say that this is my ending bracket. Okay, now in this case our ending bracket is not a question mark, it is a curly bracket, right? So that defines our starting bracket as well. Okay, so our starting bracket cannot be any other bracket but a curly brace. So in this case I'm not gonna multiply with 3 like I did here, because in this case I have just one possibility, right? So if I assume that this is my opening bracket and this is my closing bracket, then I need to solve the sub problem of this string and this string. Then I need to solve question mark. So these two strings, I need to solve these two strings separately, right? And similarly, let's say now I take this as my closing bracket, but in this case I can see that this is already not a question mark and it is an opening bracket, so it cannot be a closing bracket, so I cannot choose this position. So I'll just move on. So I'll move on to this position. So again it's a question mark, so I can choose it, and I can choose it in three ways because we have a pair of question marks here. So I'll choose it in three ways. I can multiply it by 3, but I'll get the answer from here. Now what are the strings that I need to solve independently here? It is question mark, curly and parenthesis, and one question mark. So these are the strings that I need to solve independently, right? Let's move on to this value. Now for this value, again we have a question mark, so we can see that we'll have three choices. And what are the strings that I need to solve it for? We have just one string, that is question mark, closing curly brace, opening parenthesis, and a question mark. So that is my sub problem here, right? Now here you can see that this is a string of length 1, so it cannot make a pair. So this is a base case. So we can conclude here that this string is not going to get converted to a valid string. Okay, so we can return from here. Here we have a string of length 1, so we cannot create a pair out of a string of length 1. It must be even at each and every position, right? So again I cannot do it here as well. Now I have only two choices left, this one and this one. Okay, and both of them consist of just one string of even length. Okay, so let me remove the choices which are not valid. Now we have these two choices, right? So again we can do the same. So let's iterate on this string. I'll fix my first character of this string. Okay, and I'll assume that this is an opening bracket, but in this case as we can see that this is not an opening bracket, so this choice is again invalid. Okay, so since it is a closing bracket and we cannot find a pair of this bracket, so we can just return 0 from here, and 3 multiplied 0 will be 0. Okay, so this is again invalid. Now let us move on to the second problem we have. So here let's fix this character as the first character of our current substring, or the character which will possess opening brackets, right? After that I'll iterate for the closing bracket. So let's say I am currently here and I assume that this is my closing bracket. Then in this case, since the closing bracket is not a question mark, I can only do this in one way. So if I choose this as my closing bracket, the sub problem that I'm gonna get is parenthesis and question mark, right? Because these two are selected. Now let's say I choose this as my closing bracket. Now since it is an opening bracket, I cannot do that, right? Because it will be an invalid choice. So I cannot choose this. Now let's try to choose this as my closing bracket. Now again, here we have two question marks, so I can put three kind of values there, right? So my sub problem will have some strings. In this case, I'll have just one string, and that is this one, and we can get the answer in 3 ways. Now after this, we can see that this pair is invalid, right? Because it starts with a closing bracket. So we can again return 0 from this position. So we'll return 0 from here. So 3 into 0 is 0. Now we have one substring left here. Okay. So for this substring, I'll choose this as my starting bracket. Okay. Opening bracket. Then I have this choice as my closing bracket, and since this closing bracket is a question mark, but here our opening bracket is not a question mark, right? It's a fixed bracket. So my closing bracket can be made by just one choice. So what I'll do here, I'll multiply by 1 and I'll say that this is my closing bracket. So the string that I'm gonna get is an empty string of length 0. So in case we got an empty string, that means that we have already paired up all of our brackets, right? So in this case, I will return 1 from here. I'll say that this is a valid choice. Now 1 multiplied with 1, it is 1. Then this 1 will propagate further to here 1. Now I'll multiply this 1 with this 3. So I'll return 3 from this position. Okay, so I'll get 3 from this string, and rest of the values are returning zeros. So that means the number of valid strings for this string is 3. Okay, so that's how we can solve this problem recursively. So basically we can optimize this recursion using memoization, and now we can move on to see the pseudocode of this problem. That will definitely help us understand the recursion better. Okay, now let us look at the code of this problem. So this is our solve function. We are given the string and then we are passing it to a recursive function go, and here 0 is L and n minus 1 is R. Okay, so we are solving it. So now let's look at the go function here. This is L, this is R, right? Now if I is greater than j, we are returning 1. So when I is greater than j, then we are encountering an empty string, right? So as we have already discussed, in case of empty string, we are technically claiming that we have already paired up each and every bracket, right? So we can return 1. And if I equal to j, then currently we have one character left. And since we have one character left, we cannot pair it up. We need at least 2 characters to make a pair. So in that case, I'll return 0. Otherwise, I have this answer variable and I'm memoizing it using this dp table. After that, I'm checking if our vi is not an opening bracket or a question mark. I'll return 0, because if my string starts with a closing bracket, I cannot pair up with an opening bracket, right? So in that case, we'll return 0. Otherwise, we'll iterate from I plus 1 till j, and for each element, if vi equal to question mark and vid is equal to question mark, so here vi is the opening bracket and vid is the element we are trying to consider as our closing bracket right now. Okay, if both of these are question mark, then we can solve the sub problem in 3 ways, right? That's why I'm multiplying by 3 here, and then I am recurring from I plus 1 till id minus 1 and id plus 1 till j. So let's say this is the string question mark dot 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 question mark dot dot dot. Then this is our first character I, and this is our sub character id, which I have considered as our closing bracket. If I consider this as a pair, then I need to recur for I plus 1 and id minus 1, that is this string, and id plus 1 till j, and that is this string. So I need to recur for these two strings, right? So that's why I'm recurring for these two strings and I'm multiplying the number of ways in which we can solve these two subproblems, right? After that, I'm multiplying it by 3 because we can solve our current subproblem in 3 ways because we have 2 question marks, right? Now if we don't have a question mark, we'll have a closing bracket which we can use. So in case of a closing bracket, we can recur for I plus 1 and id minus 1 and id plus 1 and j, and we won't get 3 ways here because I know our closing bracket is something, okay, some character. So our opening bracket should be that same character only. That's why we are not multiplying by 3 here, right? If my vi is equal to question mark, then we have covered the cases. And if my vi is some opening bracket, in that case, I need to check again, right? So here, our vid or our closing bracket can either be a question mark or it can be a reverse of our current bracket, right? Since we know that our vi is not a question mark, that means our vi is some character. So here's the reverse function that actually returns us the reverse of current bracket. Okay, for this the reverse is this, for this the reverse is this, for this the reverse is this. Otherwise it will return an invalid sign. So that means if this is the case, then I am recurring from I plus 1 to id minus 1 and id plus 1 to j, and I am adding that up to the answer. After that I am returning my answer. So that's how we can solve this problem. So that's pretty much it for this video. Please like, share and subscribe. Thank you for watching.